A ghost story that tells the tale of an apparition appearing to a child always lends the tale a certain turn of the screw. But if one child lends the tale one turn, what then can be said of two children? The answer is, of course, two children give two turns. The woman was my sister's governess. She was 10 years my senior. A very agreeable woman, very worthy. She told me the story in the garden. The best stories, she said, always begin in the garden. A man, a woman, a forbidden fruit, the loss of innocence, the discovery of something altogether not. The details: a letter, a locket, a riddle, a name. The words of her own written in her diary in faded ink on the pages of 7 days. This is the story she tells. It is a story of terror and horror and death. It made my very heart stop.
June 17th, 1872.
The first day I meet my destiny.
The only daughter of a poor country parson, I have come to London at the age of 20, in trepidation, to answer in person an advertisement that has already placed me in brief correspondence with the prospective patron, a gentleman of great wealth and stature, a bachelor in the prime of life in his imposing house on Harley Street. I love children.
I despise them.
Oh.
Not in the flesh, of course. Love them in the flesh. Despise them figuratively, I mean figurative speech. In theory, as a concept. Not my nephew, not my niece, don't despise them. They're not concepts, they're actually quite real.
I like a real child.
Well, this position should be quite your sort of thing. Real children, real house, gardens, and a lake, and a housekeeper, all either real or imaginative in the appearance thereof. Sherry?
No, thank you.
Tea, then?
Yes, please.
Sugar?
No.
Milk?
Yes.
Why?
Thanks.
Now, business background. The house is called Bly, though no one knows why. It is in Essex, for that is where it is. Family place, many years never go down. Bit like Hamlet's Elsinore. Battlements and towers, waters below and beneath. Rather a ship at sea, Bly. Very romantic, if that's your bent.
I'm a romantic at heart.
12 months ago, I was left by the deaths of my brother and his wife, guardian to my nephew and niece. They are delightful creatures.
I'm sure.
I never see them, never go down. It's awkward. I am a bachelor. I have no experience of children.
I'm certain you've done everything within your
There are
power.
no other relation.
Relation?
Family, awkward. Their lives take up all my time.
Children.
And my affairs take up all my time.
I understand.
You do.
Not enough time.
You see the conflict.
Persuasively.
I need a woman. I need courage and fineness and a pure heart to guide me. It is a challenge, but the woman I choose must not shrink from it. So many young women, well, they are the very personification of aversion. You're not that, are you, aversion?
Of what?
Aversion? You're not averse to a challenge, are you?
No, I enjoy a challenge. It's hard to know sometimes what's best for a child.
Children want is a mystery.
We're all children. We want affection, love, protection. There's nothing like a child in pain.
The girl is there now. The boys await school until the end of term. You will go to Blythe then immediately, provided, of course, the salary is such to your satisfaction.
You're more than satisfied, sir.
The satisfied women are very goal in life. As governess of Blythe, you will receive all monies from my solicitors. I'll send with you certain letters, instructions, that sort of thing. But you shall be in supreme authority by virtue of your virtue.
Oh, you make me spin.
You shall be lonely. You shall be very lonely. Do you fear loneliness?
Do not fear what I know.
And I should tell you that I have another young woman who has sat in this room, gloves on, eyes expectant, for whom the sacrifice appeared to be prohibitive.
Prohibitive? Sounds like a plot of heaven. Why prohibitive?
Because of my main condition, that you should never trouble me. Never, neither appeal nor complain, not write to me about anything. You must meet all questions and adversities yourself. From the moment you enter Blythe, our communication is hush. Hush. Have I seduced you?
What are their names?
Miles and Flora.
Miles and Flora. Miles. I do. Yes, I promise. I will sacrifice and they will be cared for and it shall be the joy of my life.
Success. I have seduced you.
A question, though. The children have been in your care for 1 year. Am I their first governess?
Oh no, there was a woman.
She moved on.
She went away. God be with you.
The 18th of June, 1872.
The second day, I am come to Blythe.
The next morning, my heart is beating with expectation. As I prepare for my journey, my head is full of doubts. I've never had charge of children before. I am certain I am not up to the task. It's with these thoughts in mind that I spend the long hours in the bumping, swinging coach that carries me towards my feelings.
Whip, crack. Wheel, rattle.
Suppose I expected or had dreaded something so dreary that what actually greeted me upon turning through the front gate was a tremendous surprise. First, the broad beach avenue which sweeps up the front lawn past a sparkling blue lake with its own green island shimmering in the sun. Above, a looming Gothic tower over which rooks circle and caw in the golden sky. And finally, the great mansion itself, the true splendor of which makes me feel in an instant I have at last come to life.
I'm Mrs. Gross, the housekeeper. Welcome to Blythe.
Thank you, Mrs. Gross. Thank you very much, to be sure. This is on your home. Our employer in London did not tell me it was so very grand.
The master loves his surprises.
It's a wonder. I'm astonished by its loveliness, I truly am. Not as astonished as I am by the loveliness of this small treasure. You must be Flora. Oh, Flora, Flora, you are an angel! It is a wonder your good uncle in London did not make more of a point of it to me, as of course I do not further wish to turn your pretty head. Oh, and such a pretty, fluffy, beautiful locket round your neck. Oh, we will be such good friends, Flora. Sweet Flora, lovely, lovely Flora.
Flora doesn't speak, miss. Surprise!
Is he a logic?
She simply doesn't. She's shy.
Well, so am I. That's why we were such good friends, Flora. When I was a young girl in my father's parish, I spent many hours alone. In fact, if you counted up the hours, I probably spent years not speaking a word. But In the end I spoke, and spoke a good deal, and speak still I do. Oh, and by heavens, yes, I think I can see a smile, a shy, widening smile from behind Mrs. Gross's petticoats. Silence is a virtue, Flora. Silence makes a stupid girl wise and a clever girl a genius.
Oh, she is smiling, miss. She's not smiled in such a long time.
Would you do me the honour, Miss Flora, of showing me our fine new home? Success! I have seduced her. Through the garden, Flora leads me to the lake, where we find an old rowboat baked amid the reeds. And there, at the edge of our small sea, we sit on the soft grey wood of our tiny vessel and hold hands under the great shade of the Tower of Bly. I am in love with the child. When I was small, I knew no other children. My mother was dead, my father was harsh. The scant vicarage home was so cramped and dark and weary. I so want Flora to love me as I love her. I want more than life itself to hold her and protect her. When the sun begins to die away, Flora takes my hand, and as she does, she stoops low and plucks such a wild flower. Not a buttercup, not a bluebell, but a nightshade. We walk back to the house through the darkening gloom. As we pass under a heavy rush of beach, a kingfisher sobs. Ooh, ooh. Somewhere over the water. Ooh. Like the cry of a broken heart. We had gone upstairs and put Flora to bed in my room, for I have decreed Flora and I shall sleep together. Mrs. Gross and I go below to plan the universe.
Indeed, miss. As you say again, a beautiful child indeed. And if you think well of the little lady, well, then you will be carried away by the little gentleman.
Well, that's why I've come, to be carried away. I'm rather easily carried away, I fear.
Were you carried away in Harley Street, the master? You wouldn't be the first, and you won't be the last.
The master is the most persuasive presence.
Well, he is.
And it is true. He never comes down.
He never came. I'm glad you're here, miss. It's been so lonely all this time, just me and the little baby.
The three of us shall make quite a happy little family, I'm sure.
As you say, miss. At least until morning.
In the morning?
When the coach arrives, Miles. He returns from school tomorrow.
I didn't expect him till the end of term.
The master sent this letter down with you.
My good woman, please expect my nephew on the morning coach. Enclosed, please find sealed a missive from the headmaster detailing the situation. Deal with it, but not a word to me. Miles has been dismissed, sent down from school. He may not return ever.
Miss!
My duty regretfully requires that I report Master Miles' behaviour is of a nature injurious to the other children, and hence he must never return to us. Mrs. Rose, is Miles imperfect?
Oh, he's but scarce 10 years old. One might as well believe ill of the little lady.
Yes, but you've never known Miles to be bad, have you?
Why, yes, miss, indeed. And thank God. A boy who is never bad is no boy for me.
Yes, I see your meaning. We want a boy with fire.
With spirit.
We want a boy with fire and spirit. Of course, they do use the words corruption, contamination, and unspeakable.
Well, there's spirit and there's spirit, miss.
Not to the degree to contaminate.
Are you afraid he'll corrupt you?
Mrs. Gross, the lady who was here before me, did she see anything in the boy that wasn't right?
She never said.
Tell me about her.
She was young and pretty. Almost as young and pretty as you.
He seems to like us, young and pretty.
Yeah, he did. That's how he liked all of them.
The master?
Why, yes, the master.
No, wait, you were speaking of someone else, not the master.
Who else would I be speaking of? There is no other. You were asking about your predecessor, miss. The answer is simple. She wasn't careful.
Did she stay here long?
Long enough. She went away.
Went away?
She died.
She was taken ill?
She went off one night and then she was dead. Didn't the master tell you it?
Yes, of course he did. What was the lady's name?
Jessel. Oh, it's been a long time since I've said her name. It is late. Welcome to Blythe, miss. Lock your doors. The house drafts are powerful, right?
When I return to my room, I find upon my pillow a gift. It is a locket. Flora must have risen in the night and placed it on my bed. Inside the small cameo are 2 portraits, painted miniatures. In the dim and by my candlelight, I can make out the 2 faces. The red locks of the female, the dark crimson of the male. Miles and Flora, by an unknown hand. I kiss their pictures, put the locket round my neck and turn. What I see before me is a woman in black, alone in an island of darkness. We stare at each other. Until I realize it is me. In the corner of the room there is a full-length mirror. I have turned to see my body in the glass. My father's house had no mirrors. I've never seen the whole of me before.
Ooh.
June 19th, 1872.
The 3rd day. The gentleman returns to Blythe.
It's a great pleasure to meet you, Miles.
Thank you, miss. It's nice to meet you too. Where's Flora?
I left it with the housekeeper, helping to make your welcome for you.
May I go to her, miss?
Yes, Miles, you may. I do not wish to keep 2 such loving siblings apart.
Thank you.
But I do hope that we shall pass many happy hours, Miles. Despite what may have transpired at your school, I want to be your friend. You understand, Miles?
Yes, miss. May I go to Flora now, miss?
Yes, Miles, you may.
Thank you, miss.
Miles,
Here, miss.
would you like to kiss me?
Where, miss?
Go on. Your things will be taken to the master's room. You're old enough now. Oh, he is perfect. I shall carry him away. That evening, before dinner, I take a stroll in the garden of my hamlet Elsinore. The rooks in the sky, the beeches whispering in the last breeze. I do believe I am up to the challenge. I dare say I believe myself to be a remarkable young woman. And someday soon this remarkability will be more publicly remarked upon. Someday soon he will appear to prove with his light and his shining face. I am here to protect and defend his little creatures, his children now. I have heard stories of masters and governesses before, it is not unknown. These Jane Eyre success to comfort my improbabilities. This is my magnificent chance. But still I wonder, what would bring the master here? I am deep within the garden when it comes into view. All sounds stop. What arrests me on the spot is the sense that my imagination has, in a flash, turned real. He does stand there, high up on the tower in the clear twilight, a figure stands upon the battlement. It is not the person I had imagined. I have not seen this face before. We stare deep at each other as if in mutual challenge. Turns his face, goes to the opposite corner of the tower. And he's gone.
Miss.
Ah! Oh, Mrs. Gross!
Dinner is served, miss. Something the matter?
It's nothing, Mrs. Gross. Let's go to the children.
Yes, miss.
That night at dinner, I dine at the head of the table where the mistress sits, Miles and Flora at my side. It is too early to go to bed. Miles, what shall we do? Games? Charades? Do you play any instruments?
The piano, miss.
Oh, they taught you that at school, did they?
No.
And where did you learn to play?
I learned it here, miss.
Ah.
Would you like me to play for you, miss?
I would indeed. How about you, Flora?
Flora fond of music, miss. I know what she likes.
Well, to the nursery we go. We've not spoken lately. Surely there are feelings there. I do not think it right to keep such feelings locked and shut away. Miss Jessel taught the music. Why lock Miss Jessel away just because she is dead?
I warn you, miss, I do not play well.
Well, I promise to listen very badly.
You're funny, miss.
This play is so charming. Childlike in its naivete, adult in its intensity. I understand what happened to Miles at that school. He was simply too fine and fair for that vindictive, horrid, unclean schoolwork. My eyes stray above Miles' small frame to the nursery window. Rain streaks the panes, caught in the candlelight, like red rivulets, blackness framing the night beyond. And I see him, at the window, in the night. It is the same face. He stares deep and hard at me. We recognize each other. But he has not come for me. He's staring at the fingers on the keys. He has come for someone else's eyes!
Something wrong, miss?
Stop it, Flora! Mrs. Grouse?
Miss?
Put the children to bed.
Yes, miss.
Safe to bed. I tell Mrs. Gross my information. Mrs. Gross, we are not alone in blind.
Not alone?
Did you see his face too, looking through the window?
A face?
Such an extraordinary looking man.
You saw a man? Where did he go?
I don't know. The moment I stood, he was gone.
Have you seen him before?
Yes. It's on the tower this afternoon.
You saw a stranger this afternoon? You can tell.
He was on the tower this afternoon. He made his way and defied me on the spot and then turned the way he had come. He's a horror.
A horror?
I saw him.
Yes, miss.
As I see him.
Of course, miss.
How did he get in, Mrs. Gross?
I have had no opportunity to quiz him, miss. Does he only speak?
You think I'm making up stories?
Well, you've had a long day.
Never mind, Mrs. Gross. Go to bed, don't believe me.
Miss?
I will stay and watch the children. Good night, Mrs. Gross. I'll let you know the next time there's a man who shouldn't be as
Miss? Wait. As you were the one who saw this man, describe what he's like.
He's like nobody. Yes. Red hair, long face, pale, good features. Rather queer whiskers, red as his hair. His mouth is wide, his lips are thin, and his eyes are sharp. Strange. Interesting.
Would you call him a gentleman?
No. No, he's not a gentleman.
Would you call him handsome?
Yes.
And his dress, would you call his clothes good?
I might, but
Go on.
they're not his own.
No, they're not.
What are you trying to say?
They are the master's clothes.
You know him!
Dying to tell you, miss.
Sometime before you tell me.
Quint. Peter Quint. I vow I'd never say his name again. He was the master's valet when the master was here. When the master left, Quint remained.
No. With you.
He was in charge. Oh, he was very clever, miss, very deep. No one could go against Quint. The power he had over that boy. The things that man could do.
And yet he was in charge of the children.
The master said as much. And it was Quint's own fancy to play with them, to spoil them. Quint was much too free. He'd put on the master's finery and lead miles off into the garden. My boy's getting on, he'd laugh, he's getting on. He called himself the boy's tutor. He to Master Miles, as Miss Jessel was to Flora.
Why did Miss Jessel separate this creature from the children?
Miss Jessel didn't care.
Why in heaven not?
She and Quint, they did things.
What things?
Nothing nice.
Tell me.
Miss, there are directions in which, for the present, I mustn't let myself go.
The woman says she is hesitant to go further. The full distance, I fear, is her only destination. As for Mr. Quinton's returning her, we'll scour the grounds first thing in the morning. We'll find the trespasser and send him back.
Trespasser?
All cots for on the morrow and have him in irons.
You don't understand.
I understand it's the servant who's come back.
He went away.
He's dead.
Oh, yes. Mr. Quint is dead.
Mrs. Gross, I appreciate your great decency of having not hitherto spoken. Time has certainly come to abandon reticence. Tell me the story. What happened to Quint and Jessel? How did they die? What was there between them?
Everything. She started a lady, miss, like you, and he so far below. She resisted at first, her Bible like a shield against her breast, but soon she did as he wished. It was what she desired. A lady done to by the likes of him. Wherever he liked, however he liked. They were infamous. Her always calling, Peter Quint, you devil! In the garden, in the nursery, in your room. And the children watching all the vile things they did, and saying such horrors, all of them, whispering such vile, horrible words into each other's ears, the house hissed like snakes. Then it stopped, and the house was filled with Jessel's weeping. She drowned herself in the lake. They found a Bible floating in the reeds. She was better off that way instead of seeing it through. You know what they say, miss? A woman in her condition? The madhouse is full of governesses.
Quint.
It was unnatural. With all her weeping and him paying no mind, still, when she drowned, something happened to Quint. He abandoned Miles and Flora. He gave them up. He got drunk every night in the garden, in the nursery.
My room.
And then one night, in winter, he dressed in the master's silks, and he went off from the house, and he never came back. When they found him, he was at the bottom of the tower, not a stone's throw from the lake. The ice was thick on his brow, and those small fixed eyes were cracked wide open. His head was split in two from the fall.
He loved her.
Love?
He loved her after all. Did they who found him call it an accident?
The magistrate called it an accident. They who found him were Miles and Flora. No one but me knows that, miss. The magistrate thought I found Quint, not the little ones. I lied, under oath. Oh, miss, you can't have seen Quint.
How could I know him then? How could I describe him? Show me a picture, find one!
There aren't any, they burned
Who?
them. The children. Once Quint and Jessel died, Miles made Flora take everything and throw them in the fire. That was the last they ever said his name. That was the last Flora ever spoke at all.
And that's the story.
You've come at the end of the story.
No. No, I don't think so. It's quiet.
What are you going to do?
Why?
You are in authority.
Yes. Yes, the master has given me that. First, we must not let the children know. We must keep this visitation private. Not a word. Never. Never. Promise me, my dear.
I am sworn. And the master, will you ride to the master alone?
No,
Nothing.
not a word. Master is not to be troubled, and we shall not break our vows.
Then I shall stand by you.
We shall stand together. Hold me, Mrs. Gross. Hold me close. God is with us. We must love the children. In bed I write. I'm alone at the helm of a ship called Bly, moving through the sea at night. Only they knew how afraid I am of water. I am the heroine of my story. I must see the children safe. I must succeed where other women, gloves on, eyes expectant, would so assuredly fail. The master, though separated we really are together, he and I. We are united in the care of our children. They only have me, and I have them. Peter Quint, why are you here? You say? Shh! June 20th, 1872.
The fourth day. The governess at the lake.
At a picnic by the pond this afternoon, I plan to question Miles about all things past and present. Flora runs off after a black and red butterfly that hovers above the old rowboat. I take a deep breath to gather my courage and turn to see Miles standing above me.
Do you think me bad?
Bad?
You seemed upset last night. Did you think my playing bad?
No, Miles, I adored your playing. I had a headache all from the strain of reading. In fact, I'm today still having trouble with my eyes. Would you care to read to me?
Read?
Yes, Miles, I'd like to hear your voice wrapped around my book. What do you say?
I don't like to say this.
Are you troubled, Miles?
Not really.
Would you like to play?
I'm too old to play.
Well,
I like a real thing.
so do
I
I.
like to spin.
That's not playing.
I spin for real.
Well,
Would you like to see?
I would.
I'm not in a spinning mood.
You are a tease, Miles.
I've been told that.
Where? At school? You know, Miles, girls have listened to wages.
I know. That's why you're my sister's governess.
My father taught me at home, but I was only allowed to read the Bible. I snuck in other books too, poems, romances. I had to read fast though, because if he found out I was deceiving him, he would take the books away. Sometimes I'd read the last page first, just in case my book was torn to bits from them. Mine was not a happy education. We were very happy at your school, Miles.
I'm happy enough anywhere.
You know, Miles, I can teach you quite a lot. The stars and the planets, the 7 seas, and the 5 senses.
I already know the 5 senses. Sight, sound, smell, touch, taste. And the 7 seas. And the 8 planets. And the geography of Eden. And where little babies come from. What can you teach me?
Well, I'm sure I'll think of something.
It doesn't matter if Flora's too not mine.
Flora is far better behaved than you. Flora would read to me if I asked.
If she could speak.
Miles!
And I would speak if I could read. It's a disease, miss. My eyes don't see the words in the right order. They go all round.
You can't read then. How did you learn to play the piano so beautifully?
Different. One can learn by listening and by touching.
Well, if you can't read, then I shall tell you stories. You have to trust the teller.
I trust you.
Do you?
My uncle does, so we all must. Would you like to see my uncle come down?
I don't want whatever your uncle wishes.
If you wanted him to come, you would. You could write him.
I don't think I shall, Miles.
Well then, what would make him come down? We should think about that. Do you like riddles?
Why, yes, I do.
We like riddles too. Do you want to play me a game of riddles?
I'm not Not very clever.
That's all right. You start. You're the governess.
Right. What most resembles half a red apple?
The other half.
Quite right. How very smart of you, Miles. Why is the ocean so angry?
Because it is so often crossed.
Quite right.
Thank you, Miss. Do another.
Well,
No, this is fun.
it's the longest day of Adam's life.
The one on which there was no Eve.
When is a woman duplicate?
Which is bizarre and stuff.
What is the best way to keep someone's love?
Don't return.
Do you know any riddles, Miles?
32 dancers on a red hill. Now they dance. Now they prance. Now they stand still. What am I?
Tea.
Quite right.
Another.
When is it a good thing to lose your temper?
When you have a bad one, another.
One can possess me without seeing me. One can carry me without feeling me. One can give me without having me. We give up. Look at this. Cuckold Tom.
Miles, why did you let a riddle like that?
I'm unusual. I've no body and no soul. One can hear me, or one cannot see me. Only a living being can give me life. I die the moment I am born. What am I? Ghost. Not ghost. No, silly. Music.
Yes, of course.
Well, that's one. What's twice as frightening as a ghost? To give up. Two ghosts.
It is then that I see her. We had been speaking long enough for me not to notice what little Flora was doing. Flora, my diminutive Ophelia, moving out into the water through the reeds. The tiny island in the middle of our sea, we had an interested spectator, black and red, beckoning to...
Flora!
What did Flora see? Could it be a woman in black, hair of red, pale as
Flora!
death? Did she wear a locket? Would Flora cry out?
Flora!
Flora turns from the direction of the apparition, her wet petticoats and a white cloud swirl behind her. She looks back at me as if trying to decide which way to go. And Miles raises his hand. And Flora moves back towards us through the water. I have the children hurrying back towards the house. I turn around. Jessie was still there. My children are safe in bed. I tell Mrs. Rose. Does not believe me. I describe Miss Jetson.
It's just.
Mrs. Curse believes me.
And the children.
I didn't say a word, of course, but
But you think they saw her?
I cannot say.
Then we must question them.
No! We must not betray our suspicions to Miles and Flora. We must not excite misgivings.
But if the children have seen the spectres, they must confess their knowledge to us. Is there any evidence they glimpsed her form?
I'm sure I'm mistaken, but Flora moved off into the water. I could swear Miles tried to distract me.
Why would you want to do that?
The children want is a mystery.
Miss!
We must find out what these spectres are after. I think I'll stay up a little bit later this evening.
Stay up alone.
I'd have been able to sleep anyway. I'll be fine. I'll have a cup of tea, a burning gas, and a good book to keep me safe.
Yes, miss. As you wish, miss. Miss, it's worse than we imagined, isn't it?
Midnight, June 21st, 1872.
The fifth day, the lullaby and the riddle.
Now the serpent was more subtle than any other creature in the field that the Lord God had made. And he said unto the woman, Yea, God said, Ye shall not eat thereof the fruit of the garden. And the woman said, He said, Ye shall not eat of it, neither shall ye touch it, lest ye die.
Creak, footfall.
And the serpent replied, If ye eat thereof the fruit, then your eyes shall be opened, and ye shall be as gods.
Footfall!
It is a lullaby. Children's melody. Behind, coming from behind the nursery door. I reach for my key.
Jangle, deadbolt.
Laura? Laura, what are you doing in the nursery this time of night? Is that you humming? You shake your head at me? No. Who was it then? Come away from the window, Flora. Go back to our room. I look out the window. There, in the garden, deep within the nightshade, is Miles, in his white nightclothes, staring up at the house, staring up above me, staring up to the tower where I saw Quint. When I reach his room, Miles is under the sheets, eyes closed, breathing heavy, face flushed and glistening. I do not pretend to wake his pretended sleep. I go into the passageway to descend the stairs below. My candle goes out. The window is like cathedral glass, carved curve of moonlight in the dark. Peter Quint! Peter Quint, is that you, Peter Quint? I can see your face in the shadows. The clock strikes 1.
1,
2.
1, 2,
3.
1, 2, 3.
The darkness is my friend, Peter Quint. I can see your face in the shadows. It changes shape and expression. Sometimes smiling with your fine white teeth, other times contorted into a fiendish gash. Can you see the whole of me if I go upon the stair? My courage knows no bounds. Why is it only implied to witness my boldness? The clock strikes.
1, 2, 3, 4.
Peter Quint, what do you want here? The curious fingers of an unsuspected draft turn the pages of the Bible. And there, in the margin of Genesis, written in a shaken scroll of a female hand, is a riddle. What comes between a man and a woman that allows everything? What comes between a man and a woman that allows everything?
Miss, it's past dawn! You've been down here all night. You look affrighted, Miss. What's the matter?
We had visitors last night, and we all got up to meet them. Mrs. Rose, whose Bible is this that I have been reading?
God bless us.
Do you recognize the writing?
What comes between a man and a woman but allows everything? It's Jessel's hand.
They were here last night. In the nursery, in the garden, Quint and Jessel, and the children know.
They know. But, oh Lord, Miss, we must inform the master.
What? Tell him his house is haunted and his niece and nephew the prey of devils?
He ought to be here, not to help.
Spirits of a whole of the children, more powerful than they had in life. They beckon to the children answer, and then they lie about it. The master will never believe us.
But what can stop them?
And find out the answer to this riddle. Then we will know what the ghost desire. I must care for these children alone.
John not right?
The fact knowing is that children had read my mind, Miles giving us a chance designed to prick my holidays.
When will Uncle come?
Asks Miles.
Flora misses him.
Flora nods too.
Right, Uncle, Miss, please, you know how we want him.
And later,
Have you written Uncle yet?
asks Miles.
Flora pines for him.
Flora pines too.
Right, Uncle, Miss, please, it's not too late.
And by dark,
Uncle, write him. Now.
he knows somehow that I am under the master's orders not to write. I will not lose patience, not I love my innocent babies. I want to keep them innocent young children forever. They're being tempted through the garden, and I must bring them back. They smile, they play, they laugh. Such childlike laughter. Mirthful little Miles and Flora, the silent chuckler. He teach you how to laugh, Miles. All the secrets of God. You're so alone, so many mysteries, so many secrets. What happened at that school? What comes between a man and a woman which allows? My head is pounding, and I crave release, and release comes, and it comes in a rush. June 22nd, 1872.
The 6th day, the tempest.
We walk through the graveyard to the church Saturday morning to lay flowers at the altar, and the young gentleman poses me a question I am unprepared for.
When, please, Miss, am I going back to school?
You want to go back to school? Miles, you've barely been here a week and you haven't even been to the station.